electric motors, usually we hook up a battery to the motor and the motor turns. So you can see that that's what a motor does. That's the definition of a motor. It takes electricity and makes it into motion. Both of these are kinds of energy. You've got electrical energy, and then you've got mechanical energy, or energy of motion. It's kinetic energy. And actually the batteries, they get that energy because of a chemical reaction. So it's chemical energy going to electrical energy, going to mechanical energy. Well, what's going on inside there, and how is it doing that? Well, as you may know, inside the motor there's little electromagnets. There's 3 little electromagnets, and they're pushing and pulling on the permanent magnets. There's 2 permanent magnets. Okay, so you've also got some energy of magnetic fields going on in there. Okay, well, that's all nice, but what if, for example, I had some energy of motion and I wanted to make electricity? Everybody wants electricity, so how would I make the electricity? Well, it just so happens that the motor also does that. And when you have motion and you make electricity, that's called a generator. You generate electricity. So we made this little demo, this little demonstration thing that's called a motor, generator, motor, because it starts off with a motor and the battery hooks up to the motor. And when you hook up the battery to the motor, it turns the motor. But then that motor is connected to this other motor. Now this motor here doesn't have any batteries connected to it. It's not connected to the wall, it's not connected to another battery. But when this motor is turning it, it becomes a generator. It's actually generating electricity. It's making electrical current. And then we sent it up to this other motor up here. I don't know if you can see it underneath here. So this motor is taking the electricity that's made by this motor, and it's doing what motors do. It's making the motion again. And so you can see that a motor is a generator, is a motor. Just depends on what you give it. If you give it electricity, it makes motion. If you give it motion, it makes electricity. And it's nice and light in this room because we've got all the lights on. And these lights are connected to the wall, and the wall is connected to the wires in the street, and they're connected over many miles to a giant generator. The giant generator is turning, something is turning it, and it has magnets and electromagnets, and they're moving by each other and they're making electricity. Now, what is turning it? Oh, you could use anything to turn it. You could use a horse to turn it. You could use people to turn it. Or you could use falling water. You could use water coming down from the mountains, and as the water falls, you could make it turn your generator. Or you could burn something. You could burn coal or natural gas or oil. And you could also make a nuclear reaction and use that nuclear reaction to heat up a bunch of water until it boils. And then you could use that steam to run it through the generators and make the generators turn. Then you'd have a nuclear generation plant. You don't always have to have a generator to make electricity. If you have a solar panel, you get that electricity from a quantum physical effect. The sun is hitting the solar panel, and the semiconductors in there get those photons, that energy from the sun, and they make it into moving electrons, which is the electricity. So there's no generation there, there's no generator there, there's no magnets or electromagnets, but it's making electricity. So that's another way to make electricity that's not a generator. On the other hand, the other big green power is a wind power. You've seen maybe some windmills turning their giant arms in the breeze, and inside the center of that windmill is a giant generator with huge electromagnets and huge magnets. And actually, sometimes they don't have permanent magnets. Sometimes it's only electromagnets. 2 sets of electromagnets. You can also generate electricity. So that's what I wanted to tell you.